requesting the panelists to come and join on the board. Bilal Anwar Saab, CEO, National Disaster Risk Management Fund, please join. Now I'm requesting that the Ahmed Kamal Saab, Chairman, Federal Flood Commission, Ministry of Water Sources, please join us. I'm requesting Dr. Nadeemur Rahman, Secretary Environment and Climate Change, Government of Balochistan. And I'm requesting Dr. V. Zhang, Senior Research Fellow, International Food Policy Research Institute, Washington, please come and join us. And I'm requesting Dr. Madhur Ayad, Deputy Secretary, Ministry of Climate Change and Environmental Coordination, please join us. And this session will be the Dr. Jahanzeb Khan, who is the Deputy Chairman, Ministry of Planning and Development and Special Initiative. He will be providing the closing remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, when we are talking about Pakistan, Pakistan is considered in eighth vulnerable country in terms of climate change, and it's important. The water insecurity in the Pakistan is directly linked with that one, the food and energy security and human and ecosystem health. In Pakistan, around 90% of water is used for agriculture. Therefore, that the water security is directly linking with the food system. And when we are talking about that the coming of the complex challenges, the climate change is also adding another uncertainty there. Therefore, the climate change is directly impacting on the water, food, energy, and environmental system, and does not. And typically, the climate change does not respect any geographic boundary, which we are the way we are managing the water sources in Pakistan. We need to have the whole system level approach in Indian Basin, where we need to look around where is the water used for agriculture, for food, for energy, for environment, and how we could meet the different needs of all those sectors there. Over the years, also the IPCC report has indicated, and we have witnessed in Pakistan that frequent disasters are coming more and more happening in part of Pakistan, which is either the flood or the drought. And therefore, it's also important that when we are developing the solution, we need to develop the integrated solution, but also climate resilient solution that could be helpful for us. In the way the Pakistan, the water governance is managed, it's a kind of that one the single way that one the ministries work, but there is need a much more integrated approaches, and then the more governance approaches linking with the water system, with the food system, with the energy system, and how we could develop a much more complicated, much more way. Many studies have highlighted the Indus River, which is a mighty river, but over the future in 2060, 2070, that one the glacier melting, which is will be reduced at the moment in Indus Basin.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. As we all know that Pakistan and the region in particular, in general, the region in Pakistan in particular is facing with the climate variabilities, and that is evident from such a long and such a variant sort of a climate impacts that we have witnessed over the last 10 years or so. During all these 10 years, we also have developed our national water policy, our national climate change policy, as well as national food security policy. I think that the process of how well we can align these three policies together and then maybe and develop a sort of a integrated two things. Number one, how well we can improve our groundwater recharge, and number two, how well the communities living in the far-flung areas are able to continue with their daily livelihood by practicing at least the present ongoing irrigation practices. And I think that towards that hand, the water energy food nexus and the water energy food and ecosystem nexus approach which the government is carrying along with the support of the IWMI, with the support of the other development partners as well as ministries, is offering good outputs. And I think that once that output is there in the form of a policy, we will be able to translate it in a very good way on ground by not only employing the government practices at the national, sub-national and the district level, but probably by the due the inclusion of all the communities in the area. Finally, the 2022 flood have given us the lesson that the torrential rains and the historic water is something of a precious commodity for us, and it is more than about 10 to 10.5 million acre feet of water that is available in abundance in the country. How well that water is taken care of, how well the communities on both sides of that water stream is put into as a very effective, you can say, human resource to effectively manage and utilize that water. I think that all these aspects on ground are going to cover maybe not 1 year, not 2 years, but maybe in the next 5-year time frame, we are going to see some good things happening on ground. And the wish and the will the departments and the ministries giving to this investment is very pronounced. And ultimately, we should hope that we are going to get good results by virtue of that.
Thank you very much, Chairman Kamal sir, for really highlighting some of the practical insight with the foundation step which Ministry has taken in terms of the water conservation, particularly for the agriculture sector, which is using more than 90% of water. And that sort of interaction that we really work very well with the National Adaptation Plan, which the government of Pakistan, the Ministry of Climate Change, has recently launched. And with that one, I will be going to my second panel member, Dr. Madhur Ayar, who is Ministry of Climate Change and Environmental Coordination. Madhur sir, recently we have done the National Adaptation Plan. So my question is, could the increased emphasis on the climate change adaptation help to overcome the disciplinary and then the administrative silos in the context of water, energy, food nexus, and how it will help?
Thank you, Dr. Mohsen, for organizing this very important event and inviting us to share our experiences. Regarding climate change adaptation, we see that it has two major aspects. The climate change adaptation is all about building the coping capacities and resilience of your people, your physical and ecological systems, either through project activities or programs or nature-based solutions, ecosystem-based adaptation, and like that. The other main aspect of the climate change adaptation is de-risking your investment. If you invest $1 in climate change adaptation today, in a medium to long-term period, you are going to save 7 to 10 US dollars regarding your de-risking of your investment. And definitely vice versa. If you are not investing in your climate change adaptation aspects, you are going to lose a lot of money with reference to your economic losses and non-economic losses, which Pakistan is witnessed last year in particular. These are the two major aspects. And the next thing which is very important for Pakistan, regarding to overall understanding, for Pakistan, climate crisis is basically the water crisis. If we see the major, extreme events in Pakistan, floods, droughts, erratic precipitation, availability of water for the agricultural livestock, availability of water for the water-intensive industry, we see one thing is common in all these things, and that is water. So for Pakistan, managing water or aligning it with all the policies is very important. The question in particular relates to the disciplinary and administrative silos. It's a very important issue because the things I mentioned that if we talk about agriculture, we have different ministry or department. Climate change ministry in itself is dealing with this cost-cutting issue. Regarding investment and finance, we have Ministry of Finance, we have Planning Commission. And if we talk about the industry, there is different ministry. So we need an integrated water resource management approach for this. And we cannot work in silos administratively or with having compartment type boundaries regarding our work, because this is a cross-cutting issue. With special reference to climate change adaptation, we need to build the capacity of all the stakeholders. We need a whole of a society approach, a whole of the economy approach to deal with the merits of this climate change. And climate change adaptation is a catalyst that can help us to deal with this issue. And if we see our policy framework, and it is, I must say that it is very encouraging for Pakistan that over the period of time, we are gradually breaking these silos. You see Pakistan Climate Change Act of 2017. Administratively, its peak body is Pakistan Climate Change Council. And that council has representation from all the line ministries, from the academics, from the social society, private sector. So this is one step of inclusivity to come up with the impactful climate action in the country. And the second thing, if you see our national development contribution, the main focus is given to the climate change adaptation. The costing which is done for the climate is huge, and more emphasis is given to investment in the climate change adaptation sector. The third thing is Pakistan's National Water Policy of 2018. And it is, if you go through that policy, it's fully aligned with the climate change adaptation. And this is definitely breaking of silos. And then we come up with the revised policy of Pakistan's national climate change policy. And major focus is also put in place that refers to the climate change adaptation. So there is a ray of hope, but the work is very slow. Still, we need to climate-proof all our planning process. As I mentioned in the beginning, the de-risking of your investments is key. And the climate change impact has a ripple effect on all the other water, energy, food, and ecosystem sectors. So this is the way that how we should, we are breaking the silos, but still we have no way to go. And to come up with administrative, institutional, and disciplinary arrangement where we share the capacity building among all the stakeholders, we share data with all the stakeholders, we share resources with all the stakeholders to reach a common goal, and that common goal is climate change adaptation. So we are hoping for the best with this, that the things have started in the right direction, but still we have long way to go. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir, for highlighting the need, and then there is a capacity building of those institutes as well as the data sharing and how the data could be utilized for the decision making, not only staying within one ministry but also could be shared with the other one for decision making. Yes, the pace is very slow and the pace needs to be accelerated. That's where it brings on that. Each ministry have their own silos and everything. Now, when we are talking about South Asia, the disasters, around 90% of disasters are relevant to the natural hazard, which is flood, drought, heat wave and everything. When we talk about the Pakistan, it's around 95% or maybe 100% we are dealing with those kind of, except the earthquake, we are dealing with the natural disaster, flood and drought in any given year. 3 months we have a wet season and we are facing the flood, and 9 months we are facing a drought. That's a very common spectrum across the Pakistan with the 30 days of water storage and also add another complexity there. Now the National Disaster Risk Management Fund, which the fund has been established so that we could have a much more integrated approach, and then you guys provide as a catalyst between the different ministries to act and see how the different policies could be implemented on the ground. And I'm aware that you guys have established a NetCat and many of those things, the different framework has been established and closely working with the ministry. So my question is, how the NDRMF will play a role for integrating those policies, especially the framework that you're talking about, how that framework should be implemented on the ground, and to helpful to the different ministries for implementation of those activities on the ground, improving the livelihood of the people. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Saab. Thank you for putting this panel together, this table together. Now, one of the benefits of these kind of discussion is that it basically allows us to connect different dots, look at the different challenges in a lot more holistic manner. It's a very common, you said it as well, and we hear it quite frequently, that Pakistan's problems or the climatic challenges are the water challenges. And then when we hear about the adaptation, there is another common phrase which we hear is Pakistan's adaptation is entirely related to the water as well. And when we are actually shifting our focus on one area, of course, it emphasizes the importance of that area in this particular case is being the water, but it basically takes the focus away from other areas as well, energy, food, environmental things as well. Now, this nexus approach, which is actually coming up, this is something which is allowing us to look from a very different perspective. And this is an approach which NDRMF have basically institutionally integrated and instituted as well, that if we want to work and position ourselves as a fund which is dealing with the disasters and the resilience building agenda, we cannot afford to focus ourselves on one particular aspect of the disaster. And that basically bring us to the next step, and which is your question as well. That and Dr. Mazhar already referred to that as well, which is the different ministries have their own mandates, and that basically allow them to focus, allow them to work those mandates, but at the same time we know that how ministries have become compartmentalized. And NDRMF have this benefit and advantage. We are a federal fund, and we work across different ministries and as well as the different regions and all the provinces as well. Now, what we are doing in the context of our NetCat model, the implementation of NetCat model, which again is actually going, it is focus of its scope is entire Pakistan and entire spectrum of all the different perils and the hazards and the disaster challenges which we are looking into it. Now, in that particular context, actually, what we have undertaken an exercise which is going to be coming up and published is a kind of a diagnostic kind of an analysis of where are the gaps within the different policies. And we have picked up at the first phase of it, we picked up water, food security, energy, and infrastructure development. So these are the 4 areas which we have picked up to see that what are the gaps, the policy gaps which we need to fill up in order to extend and enhance our support structure to all these different ministries. Now, having the advantage of sitting at the federal level, we can actually serve this role, and that's what we want to do as well. Now, as part of our kind of a moving ahead and the reform which NDRMF is going ahead, we are looking into the resilience building in a broader possible spectrum, and that's actually opening up the avenues into all these different sectors as well. Now, NetCat provides that kind of a framework in a very practical manner. It provides a framework. It basically allows us to highlight and pinpoint what are the hot spots, what are the vulnerability hot spots, and what are the different geographical aspects of it, where we need to focus our interventions and prioritize our money in terms of our investment. Now, this is the kind of a support which we are willing to offer, and we are going to be offering to other ministries as well, because we know that the kind of a financial constraints the country face, and similarly, I think more than that is making any kind of intervention, any kind of a project, whether it's a project, it's a program, to be really impactful, to be really delivering its objectives. It needs to have that kind of aspects and a cross-cutting approach. And moving ahead, what we want that the results, the analysis, the information and knowledge products from NetCap, as well as the diagnostic study which we are undertaking, that really becomes the baseline for all the ministries to undertake their policy reforms, to undertake their interventions and project development work. And then based on that, we can actually provide them the support. You know, being a fund, we can actually have a little bit of a leverage in terms of prioritizing our own investments, and that gives us a leverage to support the ministries and support the different stakeholders that where the money should be spent and what kind of impact we should be evaluating down the road. So this is the few of the measures which we are undertaking right now, and I hope that in the coming months we'll be actually engaging with quite a huge number of different stakeholders for this purpose. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Bilal Musa, for highlighting the diagnostic, the outcome of the diagnostic study, and then highlighting the need of various interventions, and then the cross-cutting approach. It really provide us a leap step once forward on that one, how we could improve that one, the climate resilience of Pakistan, and then the sector which you have pinpointed, those are very important on that one. Just now moving to the next panel member is Dr. Weising, who has worked internationally. She is the Senior Research Fellow at the National Food Policy Research Institute. She has worked extensively in China and in Africa. She has also looked around in Pakistan in this space. And so, being an expert on a food policy expert, I want to hear from our thoughts. What are the potential best nexus solutions for different scales in the industry? So what are your experience? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mohsin. Thank you for the invitation. So yes, we have economic growth and growing pressure from climate change, but we also have growing food demand, energy demand, and water demand, and meanwhile there's urgency to halt and reverse diversity loss. So there are a lot of important trade-offs among these objectives, which require system nexus approach analysis. For example, the expansion of renewable electricity generation, such as large hydropower plants and biofuel production, they can take land out of food production, potentially leading to land eviction in places where there is a low legal security, and also disrupting ecological equilibrium, driving biodiversity losses. That's just an example of the kind of trade-offs we're dealing with. So Pakistan has about 40 million people who are still subject to hunger, even though, as panelists already mentioned, 90% of the water withdrawal is going to food production, and there's also the energy scarcity that has been increasing due to various reasons, including the high inflation and increased electricity tariffs. So we therefore need to use a system and nexus approach, jointly assessing the implications of interventions on water, energy, and food security, and environmental health. And to do so, we need to develop trade-off analysis tools. So at IFPRI, my colleagues use global equilibrium model to conduct foresight analysis, and as well as country CGE models for policy modeling to inform adoption and targeting of interventions and investments for innovations. And we also develop analytical frameworks, indicators, and metrics for assessing water, energy, food, environmental interventions at local, national, and global levels with a focus on equity and social inclusion. So maybe I'll offer a couple examples that they drawing on my experience in other contexts. One potential nexus solution option that can support multiple sectors is solar irrigation, which can support water, food, energy security. And in Pakistan, the number of solar pumps has been increasing quite rapidly in recent years. However, we also need to be watchful of the potential risk of water depletion as the solar pump powered irrigation continue to scale up. So related to this, I'd like to highlight the importance of groundwater governance to improve the resilience of this key water resource, which already supplies more than half of all the food production in South Asia. And we also need to engage both men and women farmers in order to have effective governance. So related to this, we've been developing and using an experiential learning tool which uses experimental games that simulates the links between farmers' crop choices and the shared groundwater resources. Been showing some very encouraging results where when such games are played, you do see farmers are more acceptable when there is other intervention, technical interventions available. So we call this plowing the field to improve the understanding about groundwater system and also to provide a platform, a dialogue platform to discuss community level options and institutions for groundwater governance. We also need to work on supporting actors at different levels to improve inclusive multi-actor governance and innovation co-development processes to enable a system-level transformation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You have highlighted many critical issues on the solar irrigation. Let's take in only in Punjab, according to the government database, I'm talking about the Ministry of Food Security in Pakistan, there are only 2,000 wells, solar wells for agricultural purposes. But based on the Punjab government, the study, it's around 30,000 wells, only around the 900,000 wells are solar. So the government subsidies are not working. The farmers, due to the high prices, farmers are using the solar pumps to extract the water and everything. That brings to my next panel members, that Mr. Nadeem Rahman, who is Secretary of Climate Change and Environment, Government of Balochistan. Sir, in the context of Balochistan, we have witnessed that on the groundwater, the government introduced a subsidy scheme, and then the groundwater has sharply declined in Koita Valley and other ones, and many other non-part of the industrialization. There are a lot of issues. We are getting around 11 million acre foot of water. I'm talking about non-industrialization, and we are only able to harvest around 1 million acre foot, and 10 million acre foot is impacting on the people, livelihood, and everything. So my question, and also the Balochistan is considered a food basket for Pakistan, and also at the same time facing the water scarcity in Pakistan. So my question is, what are the opportunities for improving water governance in Balochistan, leading to improved food security for the most vulnerable and marginalized communities in Pakistan? Over to you, sir.
Thank you, everyone. I was looking at a very important slogan coined by the ministry yesterday, Recharge Pakistan. And I must say that this Recharge Pakistan necessary is not sufficient condition is recharge Balochistan. Balochistan is the largest province of Pakistan area-wise. It represents 44% of the land area, and area of business and cultivation is agriculture. And 75% of the people live in the rural areas, and 66% of the labor force is involved in the agriculture. And 2/3 of the GDP of the province is there. Besides that, you can say there are other areas, the rural field, which are dependent on water. Water is a big problem in Balochistan. If we talk about water scarcity, let me talk in this way that water is not taken as an economic commodity in the entire country. This is the problem. And that is the reason that water usage is not optimal in Pakistan. And it is more so in Balochistan. The water scarcity problem in Balochistan originates from different reasons. First of all, in the drought condition, arid, semi-arid climate, in the drought condition, then there is a limited water infrastructure due to, limited number of dams, water courses, you can say canals, and then groundwater depletion. And Dr. Mohsin was just now referring. In Koita, the water table has went down to more than 1,000 feet. So this is the situation. And then the population growth, of course, which deteriorates the condition even further. At the moment, 2.2 million hectare is the cultivable land in Balochistan is being cultivated, and 3.8 million hectare is cultivable waste, which can be utilized. Of course, it can be a food basket for the entire Pakistan, not only for the Pakistan, but it can supply to the region or else. If we look at the water sources in Balochistan, there are different mechanisms. For example, the Sirabad division with 5 districts, it has a system of canals. These canals irrigate 1 million acre of area, and it is all lush green, fertile. So one can say the issue is the water management issue. And then of course there are dams like Birani Dam with more than 300,000 million acre feet capacity of water storage, and then triple lake dam which are being used for agriculture purposes. Besides that, fuels on solar system are also being used for that purpose. But in total, I mean, even with all this paraphernalia, 3.8 million hectare land is cultivable space. So what should we do? First of all, as Dr. Mohsin was also referring, 10 million acre feet of water is wasted, I mean, in the flood rivers without any storage. So if we can build dams in different areas, and I have feasibility, I have prepared with the help of the irrigation department, it is possible if we build a dam of 300,000 acre feet, I mean water storage, it can provide water to 30,000 acre of dam. So, I mean, there is a great potential in this regard. And that can go up to, you can say, I mean, the standard have proved 1 million acre we can irrigate with this water. And then, you know, like, then we have to build the water courses also. If we look at the water courses, I mean, a 200 feet length of water course, it costs rupees 2,60,000 in Pakistani rupees, which is not much in dollars. And it irrigates 2 acres on each side, that is 4 acres of land it irrigates. And from 4 acres you can, I mean, I can tell you how much crop you can generate. For example, I was talking to one of the, I mean, farmer in Pakistan. He was telling me that he, with, you know, like 10 acre area, he has cultivated cotton there, and he was able to earn 35 lakh rupees, and with the, I mean, expenses, if they are taken out, even then 15 to 20 lakh is his profit. So this is the margin we have in Pakistan, and then in Pakistan we have different zones. I mean, we have agriculture in winter also and in summer also. For example, tomatoes or onions. In rest of the Pakistan, there is one season, like in Punjab and Sindh. These are cultivated most probably in winter, and I mean they are available like in from January onward till I mean summer. But in Balochistan, the second crop can be cultivated in September, and it will be available thereafter. So 2 times the crop can be cultivated, and then it's a huge land area. So the quantum of, I mean, agriculture produce is huge, which can supply to the entire country and outside also, and earn, I mean, a lot of money to Pakistan. Besides that, due to its very variable landscape, I mean, if we start from Sibi, which is the hottest area in the country and in the world probably, and then there is the other than Talat, with very cold climate, with Chilgoza, pomegranate, I mean, and pistachio and different food varieties can be grown. Similarly, olive can be grown in hot areas. So there is a variety of crops we can have there in that province. So to cut short, in that I will say that ADB is also working on building a big dam for taking care of a lot of area, and then the World Bank is working on a project to develop water courses. But the quantum of the problem is so huge that we require even more focused approach and work to utilize the huge potential which is untapped, which can be tapped. It is very possible. Very much it is likely that if we just manage the water properly. And then the last thing I would say that there should be low cost water reservoirs made in Balochistan to cater for excessive floods which are now coming due to climate change. So that whenever there is water, water should not go wasted. And we can use that. I think this is the way forward for us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Nadeem and Rahman sir. for highlighting that core issues. I have personally worked in Balochistan and we are doing a lot more work. There is a lot more potential we are doing it. I mean, for low water data crops and also the horticulture for the guava varieties, apple varieties, and as well as the olives and as well as the pistachio varieties, which could be grown into that area, and then there is a much more needed for capacity building, for the institutional strengthening in the part of Balochistan. And I think that yes, we need to build it up. As an engineer, I'm quite keen, but I also say that there is need of nature-based solutions that need to be low cost, effective, that one, and that could improve the marginalized communities who are impacted there and improving the water management for them, and they could also use their kitchen gardening and also all sort of activities to improve their livelihood. Thank you very much. With this one, we'll go to before we go to the next for the question and audience, question and answering from the audience. I just want to have one last round of this one in less than 30 seconds on the WEFI nexus. What do you think? What's the way forward? What your particular department will take an action on that particular approach, and how you will be helpful? What are the plans for improving the climate resilience for Pakistan? Starting with the Blossom video.
Thank you, Dr. Sir. I think for NDRMF, being the fund, I think what we're going to do, our interventions, our projects, our programmatic approaches, we are going to be connected all three elements, and technically and financially supporting the different stakeholders to come up with those kind of interventions, and we'll be very happy to fund them and finance those activities and of course support. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Evan Pastor.
Dr. Sam, as you know that we are already in the process, and we are very closely working with the Ministry of Climate Change in Pakistan, as well as the provincial departments on that very issue. I think that the only thing that would be required is how well we put on the spirit behind it, and seriously take this process around. And there is no, I think that there is no issue that it is not going to be undertaken. Probably things are going in the right direction, and this is the right moment where the government versus the development partners and all that, they are on the same can say pedestal.
Thank you very much.
I think it's a coordinated effort is needed at the federal level, provincial level, at the local level. We have to involve community. Community is the owner of the area, and with community comes the sustainability. And then our donor partners and the civil society at large all have to come together. It's a huge task, and it's the future at stake. So we have to move together and move at a right speed. Thank you.
Thank you. So at CGIAR and IFPRI, we're definitely embracing the ecosystem approach and the Nexus approach. We have a research initiative on Nexus Gains, which works exactly at the intersection of food, energy, water security, while preserving ecosystem services, which underline food security and all that. So we engage with policymakers, planners, and communities, and private sector to build the climate resilience through a holistic management of water, energy, food, and environmental health. And this whole system approaches, all panels have already highlighted, is critical to deal with our most urgent challenges.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Masan. One interesting thing, Pakistan has a lot of policies, frameworks, but we have not been able to implement all the very good documents on it. So my point on this, we should take a pause on this. We should think about the existing policies and documents which have high-level approvals from sometimes cabinet, Council of Common Interest. Then we should go for a monitoring and evaluation process. What was needed to be done and where we have stuck. With reference to the question which was lastly asked by Dr. Musa, that we are living in silos. Yeah, one ministry has a policy, but other ministries have not put it into implementation in terms of resources, means of implementation, capacity, whatever. So, my recommendation is to have a pause, to have a look on the existing policies, and to come up with a list of bottlenecks which have been the challenge for non-implementation of all these important initiatives, policy and frameworks. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now we'll be opening the floor for any question from the audience. Yes, sir. Please also mention whom you are going to ask the question.
Thank you very much. Great panel. I just have questions for Bilal Sahib, maybe Kamal Sahib as well, but other panelists can chime in as well. I think like a lot of these big infrastructure projects that you're talking about might be useful in terms of like technological interventions. But Pakistan has already like 80 million plus people which are below poverty line. There's a lot of governance challenges. Social vulnerability is huge. So I was wondering like if you are considering investing in the communities directly for reducing their vulnerability, especially the vulnerable populations in Balochistan, but also in the Sindh region. And those are the ones who are being like really tackling and like dealing with this crisis. So but I didn't hear any direct kind of like intervention that you're considering into the social system. And I heard a lot about infrastructure investments. So I was wondering like, are there like priorities that need to be shifted in terms of these investments that we're making? Thank you.
Thank you. Lots of
Thank you very much. A very good question. Yes, I think what Pakistan needs is a combination of both. The large infrastructure projects are not going to be dying out anytime soon, but it does not mean that the small infrastructure projects and community-based projects they are not being carried out. I can tell from NDRMF point of view, most of interventions which you have done in Balochistan or GB or AGK or other parts of the country as well. Most of our interventions have been small scale, very much community driven. And even if they were slightly sizable, even in those interventions or the projects, we had this the balance of having the communities, having the nature-based solutions, and up to the level of where we were establishing the village councils as well as the CBRDMs, which actually work very, very effectively for ensuring the sustainability of these interventions. The approach is going to be very similar moving ahead as well. And as we know that, I'm sure that Ahmed Kamal is going to be shedding a little more light on it. The upgrading of NFPP4, which is about the flood risk management, it has a very integral and essential component of nature-based solutions, and it is actually built on the premise of the community engagement, community involvement, as well as the socio-economic impacts and analysis also to be built into it. So these are going to be the critical elements in terms of designing the interventions, whether they are small or they are big investments, but as well as for the implementation of those elements as well. But I'm sure Ahmed want to add something.
Thank you, Bilal. You have very rightly pointed out this issue. Yes, in National Flood Protection Plan 4, earlier it was basically used to be based on preemptive flood risk management. Now it has been put on the concept of integrated flood risk management approach, and the community participation towards the selection of a site and towards whatever the benefits they are going to get once that project is put on place has been given much emphasis on. And similarly, a new aspect of nature-based solutions have been added into that. And when I said the nature-based solutions, towards that, the agriculture side, the forestry side, and the nature-based solution where the water can be utilized directly by the communities, the small intervention, but with an oversight from the province itself and by the federal government itself, they are now being included or have been included. So I think that this is going to bring something good change on ground, but it will take time. as Dr. Mazhar has said, that this may be taken as one of the area, that we can take it as a bottleneck or as a gap earlier. Now we are trying by virtue of this plan to fill this gap, and ultimately, inshallah, will be done.
Just to add a bit in that, you are very right that in Balochistan, a lot of population is very poor. And targeted subsidies is one way of, taking care of them, like BIST and other such programs for home protection. But the other thing is to build the capacity of the community. And as 75% of the people in Balochistan, they live in rural areas and they are related to agriculture and livestock. So the main focus is to build the capacity in terms of water management. So that as I already mentioned, better optimal utilization of water should be there. Each drop of water should be taken, with due care, and should be economically, productively utilized. And this is the, this is the way we can build capacity, and they can come out of poverty.
Thank you very much. Now I will be requesting, we will be moving, looking at the time, we will move to the closing session, and I will be requesting Dr. Jahangir Khan, Deputy Chairman, Ministry of Planning, Development and Special Initiative, for providing his closing remarks.
Thank you very much. It's an important topic, and I'd like to acknowledge the presence of an eminent panel, the guidance on this very important subject. The nexus, obviously, we all know it is there, and it's the broader nexus in all sectors actually. So one lesson that we know and we must remember is that everything is integrated. In terms of the universe, the life of the universe, human, animal, plant life, all that exists is integrated, and therefore this nexus, water, energy, food, environment is a subset of that. At that point, I thought was worth mentioning regarding having many policies would not be able to implement this. There, important consideration is that instead of sectoral policies, the overall policy framework has to be there so that the sectoral policies are part of that. In the absence of, this is a topic which we are seized on a daily basis. There has been a debate in the country of the usefulness of a 5-year plan, whether or not they should be continued. And then we transited to something known as growth strategy and then medium-term budgetary and planning frameworks. So those tools have been there, but we'll have to come to a conclusion. Having overall policy framework within which these policies fit in so that there is no cross purpose on that. And one policy does not conflict with the other. And that is important, otherwise this nexus is disturbed and we can be working at cross purposes. The third point is regarding implementation. I think from our perspective, and since I happen to be in the Planning Commission, Pakistan, on the government side, of course, then you have the voluntary sector and the private sector. On the government side, there is no driver or engine which moves the entire government together. National and the sub-nationals, the various ministries. This role used to be with the Planning Commission. Has gone diluted over the period of time. So bringing sectors together to reinforce them in terms of the results and outcomes, and to minimize the conflict is the role of integration in the government, which is not optimally, I would say, at present. We need to look at whether this work can be again taken on by the Planning Commission or some kind of new institutions are required to steer this work. My own experience is that once an organization loses its ability and traction, it's very difficult to really end up in action. As we speak, Pakistan does not have an economic ministry which drives the agenda of the government. It has a finance ministry which is of course very effective, largely focused on stabilization and making sure that the fiscal side is taken care of, but that's not the whole story. So some kind of institutional reforms also to bring together sectors and ministries, and not only ministries but other organizations which are working for the same purpose. There are commissions. In this case, the flood commission is an important stakeholder. There used to be agriculture commissions as well in the provinces and the federal government in the past. So stirring all these together, convening and growing and a steering function, take them in a direction that is well defined and charted. I think there's work to be done there. Finally, the window is closing on some of the reforms that are required. We need to act urgently. I think there has been a lot of talk on those, water utilization, water resources, how to harness water resources, what kind of crops to go for, the question of food security versus being able to export more and import less. We need to have a grid which is unsustainable, goes down to the last hamlet, small habitations, very difficult to maintain, very difficult to collect the revenues and sustain the losses. All of those are very important questions. I think the village electrification program itself needs a reappraisal as we move forward, more decentralized grids, also more decentralized generation perhaps, and making use of local fuels such as biomass, etc., and more efficient manner. So all of these are important work to be done. And Pakistan has a role to play, not only as a responsible member of the global community, and whatever we can do to mitigate, but largely to adapt, but also in our own well-being, for the well-being of our people. So I'd like to thank the panelists and the organizers for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much for highlighting that. Now we talked a lot about the water and agricultural nexus, but human utilization of water for the wash. I will be requesting Dr. Asim Sheikh from the country director to provide a brief remarks about the work which we are doing.
Thank you very much, Mr. Saab, and thanks to all the panelists for highlighting very prominent issues around having big dams and everything. But the only thing which I would like to mention here is that we are missing is the behavior change around water use and reuse, because it's very important, and the urbanization is happening in Pakistan. So moving forward, how as the stakeholders we can work together, not only to make sure that the big dams are being built, but how we can reduce water extraction and the reuse of water for the food and agricultural purpose. So there's a need to now take actions going back in Pakistan and develop some programs that actually make it happening before the next COP. Thank you very much.
With this one, I will be concluding this session and closing it. Thank you everyone. Please join with me in that for the appreciation of all the intellectual discussion, to all the panel members and then the chairman and everyone for providing the closing one. Thank you everyone. We will just take a group photo here for all the panel members, and we will be also requesting Dr. Jahanzeb Khan.
Right, sir.